So for the final daf, we really want to thank our sponsors that dedicated this Masechta. Shalom Fogel, Ilui Nishmas, Yaakov Zeb ben Yud Aryeh, Maris Rivka bas Yaakov Yosef, Tziv Yamirim bas God, Yosef ben Tzim ben Yaakov Zev, Lefu Shalema for Moshe Aryeh ben Miriam, and for a great shidduch, we want it to happen already, Chai Yitzivya bas Shoshana Gittel, by Baruch Ian, Ilui Nishmas, Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther bas Yona, Avram ben Shmuel HaKohen, and Lefu Shalema for Liba bas Anya, by A.B. Spry, also for the physical, spiritual, emotional protection for Yeshua Menachem Mendel, Ben Bela Shendel Rivka, by Mark Frankel, in loving memory of his father Yisrael Tzvi Ben Chaim Yeshua Falik, and by Berish Gesseman, L'Refua Shalema for Shoshana Basadina Chana. Anybody who wants to yet sponsor Menachos should let me know, and we begin on the bottom of Kuf Yud Testament Beis, and we're holding by Amar Rami Bar Chama. Amar Rami Bar Chama, which is 11 lines from the bottom of Daf Kuf Yud Testament Beis. 11 lines from the bottom of Daf Kuf Yud Testament Beis. So, Amar Rami Bar Chama, Lo Shanu Ela B'Katshei Bama Ketana, V'Ekrivam B'Bama Ketana. All of these allowances are only by that which you dedicated at a time where it's allowed, in Gilgal, in Noiv and Givain, where you dedicated it on a private altar and you offered it on a private altar. But if you dedicated it to bring on your rooftop, to Karvinu B'Bama G'dayla, but then you brought it to the communal Bama, then Yesh Chitzui. Then the laws of when you have to do it under the red line and above the red line apply. So Moshe Rabba asks, Chazav Ishoik and Trumas Lachmei Taida Noagin B'Katshei Bama Gedayla are only noig that you have to give the breast and the shank and the 4 loaves from the 40 loaves of the Taida to the Kain is only noig B'Katshei Bama Gedayla. Now, the Gemara is very exact over here. It doesn't say noyagin b'bama gedayla. It says noyagin b'katshei bama gedayla. Only if you were mekadesh it initially for bama gedayla. Ve'ein noyagin b'katshei bama ketana. But it's not if you were mekadesh it for a private altar, even if you bring it later to a public altar. So the Gemara says, yeah, well, you're right. It's a good diet, but we're going to amend it. Eima noyagin b'bama gedayla. It's practiced on a public altar, even if you dedicated it first privately. There's another version over here. The other way around. It's only if initially Gedalia sanctified it for the communal bama in Gilgal or Noiv and Given. If he initially was going to bring it by one valley stream, even if he changed his mind and decided to go to the Bama Gedayla, ein chitzi. He doesn't have to be makbid to do it above the red line, below the red line. So lema Messiah, chazav v'shoyka trumas lachmei taida, the breast and the shank that you have to give to the kohen from a shlamim, from a taida, and the 4 loaves of the 4 different 10 loaf types of the taida that you give to the kohen, noigin b'katshei bama gedayla, ve'ein noigin b'katshei bama ketana. It's noig only if it was dedicated for the Bama Gedalah, and not if it was dedicated for Bama Ketana, even if you bring it to the communal altar. So the Gemara says, well, I wouldn't be so fast to bring a raya, because Ema Noigim B'Bama Gedalah, maybe the correct guess is that it's by Bama Gedalah regardless of where you dedicated it. Ve'ein Noigim B'Bama Ketana. Upliga the Rebbe Lazar. And this second version of Rami Bar Chama is in opposition to Rebbe Lazar. The Amar Rebbe Lazar, for Rebbe Lazar says, Oilas Bamas Yochid, the Oila of a private Bama, Shechnisa Bifnim, that then you brought into the communal sanctuary, Kol Tua Mechitzas L'Kol Davar. The mechitzas grab it for all things. For example, now you'll need to do it Stein Shem Arba on two diagonal corners, even though Saviv does not apply on a private bama, but it'll apply on a communal bama. What? Not Mezbech. It means the mechitzas of Noiv and Givon or the mechitzas of Gilgal. Now, by Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Zera now declares, as we're going to start the final daf, what a climb this has been for us. Today, Rabbi Yisai, Yitzi Muller has made us aware that Laim Day Daf Yomi are learning the 2,200th blot of Shas. We are now at 2,200. That means that we have 511 to go to finish Shas. 511 more blot. Today is 2,200. Who's counting, right?
Some people.
Huh?
Some people.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Every day is precious. Every day is precious. And it's something that I taught people about Daf Yomi. It's an important lesson. If you miss 100 blot here or 100 blot there, you're still going to be a huge Talmud Chacham. People shouldn't get discouraged. They go through a hard patch and they miss some time. In the big picture, so if you don't know 2,711 this time and you only learned 2,400 this time, you'll get it the next time. I had somebody in my shir who learned with me 5 cycles. His name is Lenny Lowenthal. And he used to mark every daf that he learned. And he had on the daf, so he knew that this daf he learned 5 times. And this daf he only learned 2 times. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but he has it in his Gemara.
I have it in the Gemara too.
Right. So this way he knows how many cycles he learned each daf. No, just a mark. Yeah. Some people also write notes if they have a kasha, if they have an interesting idea. You know, people. I have talmidim that tell me and call me, you know, I was looking at my Gemara on this daf, and 3 cycles ago you said this in this chiddush. They have it in the Gemara. Now, by Rabbi Zera, Oylas Bamas Yochid. An Oyla, getting back to Gedalia, you know, he dedicated an Oyla on his rooftop. Shechnisa Bifnim. After shechting it, he shechted it outside on his rooftop, and then he brought it inside into, let's say, Noiv, Givon, Gilgal, Vaitzir Lechutz, and then he took it out again. Now, Mi Aminon, Kavan the Ayla Koltala Michitzasa. Once he brought it inside the partitions of the communal bama, it was grabbed, and he has to bring it back inside. He brought it back outside. He could do it back on his rooftop. So the Gemara says, it would seem to be, this is an interesting application. It would seem to be, Lav Hainu Plukta de Rabba v'Rab Yosef. Now this is not a very obvious analogy. But the Gemara says, isn't this similar to the argument between Rabba and Rav Yosef? They argue about, if you take Kachim Kachim, we know Kachim Kachim has to be slaughtered on the north. Right? Ayla, a Chatas, an Asham, they have to be slaughtered on the north. Let's say you slaughtered it on the south. Mark, with all of his excuses, right? He slaughtered it on the south. So he disqualified it. Question is, now, if he puts it on the Mizbeach, do they have to take it down? Or do we say that the Mizbeach is called Tua? Grabs it, and you don't have to take it down. So says the Gemara, very important to put mark here. Lav Aina Plukta de Rabba v'Rab Yosef. The Tanan. Koche Kochim Sheshchotan Badorim. Mark slaughtered it on Darim, a mess up. Right? Koche Kochim and oil has to be done on the north. He slaughtered it on the south. So since he slaughtered it on the south, this is not going to be able to be processed correctly. So the Issa Me'ila stays upon it. So Mo'alim Behem. V'iboilu. The question is, Alu. If then it was put upon the pyre, Maushi Yerdu, do we have to take it down? Rabba Amar Yerdu. Rabba says, take it down. Seems to be Rabba holds that like Koltua Mechitzais. The Mechitza of the Mizbeach doesn't grab it. Rabbi Yosef Amar Lo Yerdu. Rabbi Yosef says, once you put it on, you don't take it down. So the Gemara wants to say that according to Rabba, when it's brought inside, just like the mechitzas of the Mizbeach is not kolat, so the mechitza of the Noiva Givain or Gilgal is not kolat. While Rabbi Yosef says it is. That's what the Gemara says. However, the Gemara tells us that it's not a good analogy. What's your first name again?
Iran.
Huh?
Iran.
Aaron?
Well, what's the email?
1 second. 1 second. Middle of a difficult analogy. Don't ask me different questions. So Aaron made a point that there's two issues. There's the mechitzas of the Mizbeach and there's the mechitzas of the communal area. So the Gemara says, you can't. You're mixing apples and oranges. Tiboy l'Rabba, Tiboy l'Rabbi Yosef. We could clear the Shaila according to Rabba, we could clear the Shaila according to Rabbi Yosef. Tiboy l'Rabba, Ad kan lo come a Rabba that im olu, if you put marks mess up on the Mizbeach, yerdu, you got to take it down. Ela b'Mizbeach, because the Mizbeach is sensitive. The chazi lei mekadesh, that which is fit for it, it's mekadesh. The loy chazi lei, if it's not for it, fit for it, it was slaughtered on the south. Kachim is slaughtered on the south, is not fit for it. Loy mekadesh. Aval mechitza, but the partitions, let's face it, Gedalia's carbon is good on the inside and it's good on the outside. Right? So he did it, he shechted it on the outside, then he brought it inside. But here, it's fit on the inside and it's fit on the outside. So maybe, aval mechitza, aval gav the loy chazilei, even though it was initially not fit for it, because Gedalia was mekadesh it for the outside, maybe kolta. Now that he brought it inside, it seizes it and he has to finish it inside. Dilma, or the Gemara says you could look at it the other way. Afilu Rav Yosef, who says that if we put marks mess up, don't forget that. If we put Get on the phone and call Marshall. Barry's not here either yet. Says Gemara, Dilma afilu Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says that if we put Mark's mess up on the Mizbeach, which he slaughtered on the south, it doesn't come down. But Ad kan lo come Rav Yosef Hasam ela dechad makamhu, because the whole courtyard is one place. So therefore, once it was done in the courtyard, in the Azara, so therefore the Mizbeach that's in the same place is going to accept it. Aval hacha de trei mekaymes ninu, but here where it was outside, it was brought inside, it's two different places, it's possible, it doesn't. Perhaps there's no difference. Says the Gemara, Teku, Tishbi Yataretz, Kushas V'Bayis. Now, Milza de Pshita Leila Rabba B'chad Gisa, something that was Pashat to Rabba in one direction, that Im Olu Yerdu, Ulu Rav Yosef B'chad Gisa, and to Rav Yosef in another direction, Miboy Leila Rav Yanai, is actually a question to Rav Yanai. The boy Rav Yanai, Evrei Bamas Yochid, the limbs of a private bama. Here, Gedalia shechted something on the Mizbeach, on his roof. And he sprinkled the blood on the Mizbeach on his roof. And now the question is, he brings it inside and puts the kidneys, the lobe of the liver, the fats, on the Mizbeach in Noivin Giving, or in Gilgal. Question is, do we take it down? Says the Gemara, Debay Rab Yanai, Evrei Oilas Bamas Yochid, She'olu Mizbeach was then put on the Mizbeach inside Mao Sheyerda. What's the din if it should be taken down? And we're not going to be gyrus the next piece of Gemara. It seems to be Rashi did not have the Girsa. Because if we gyrus it, it seems to be not really the similar to our Shaila. So the Gemara says, Teku, Tishbi Yataretz, Kushas V'Bayis. We talked about a lot of things about the difference between a Bamas Tzibur and a Bamas Yachid. A lot of things. One thing we didn't speak about yet is Shechita in the night. No, Gedalia likes to make a kachim party in the night. Gedalia's a party person. He wants to have a kachim party in the night. Can he do Shechita on his rooftop in the night? So says the Gemara, Itmar, Shechitas Laila B'Bamas Yachid, Shechita in the night on a private altar. It's a machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Chadam k'sheira. One says it's kosher. V'chadam psula. V'kamiflegi b'de Rabbi Elazar. They argue about the stira that Rabbi Elazar asks in a pasuk. The Rabbi Elazar Rami Kroya Hadadi. Rabbi Elazar asks a stira at a time where Shaul's soldiers shechted kachim, and they didn't sprinkle the blood. So it says, Vayomer, Shaul told them, Begadatem, you acted with treachery. Bagad means treachery. you have to sprinkle the blood. Golu elai hayoim even gedayla. You should place a big stone and make a mizbeach so that you could sprinkle the blood. So, but he says hayoim, so that implies that it has to be in the day. Uksiv, yet there's another pasuk, vayoim mishol psu ba'am, scatter out amongst the people. V'amartem lahem hegishu elai ish shoyroi. Everybody should bring his axe. V'ish seyehu. Everybody is sheep. Ushechatetem bazev v'achaltem. And slaughter it, and you could eat it. V'loi techteku l'Hashem lechel el hadam. You shouldn't sin by eating over the blood. In other words, without doing the proper ritual. Vayagishu kol ha'am ish shoyroi b'yodai halayla. Oh, in the night. Vayishchatu sham. So that would imply that in a private bama, you could do it in the night. So Mar Mishani, one holds no way. The ones that they did in the night, they slaughtered for themselves. They made a barbecue. Mar Mishani, kam b'chulin, kam b'kachin. In other words, when he said they did in the night, I was talking about the stuff that they didn't sanctify. They didn't sanctify everything. Huh? No, that's okay. He only didn't want them to take that which they sanctified and not do the proper sprinkling. Umar Mishani, kan b'kachin b'ma gedayla, kan b'kachin b'ma ketana. Where does it have to be behind? That's if it's on the communal altar. If it's on the private altar, then it could be in the night. Okay. Here's another detail that we have to dot the I's and cross the T's. That we didn't dot the I's and cross the T's. Itmar. Oylas bamas yachid. The oyla of a private altar. Rav Amar ein tu'una hefshit v'nituach. You don't have to flay it and dismember it. You could put it on. Remember, an oyla is burnt entirely. It's kula kala. So Rav says, on a private altar, you don't have to go. It's a big procedure to flay it and cut it. Rav says you could put it on straight. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, tu'una hefshit v'nituach. It needs to be flayed and dismembered. And they argue about something that Rabbi Yossi Aglili said. The Tanya Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer, Oyla shekrivu Yisrael b'midbar, the Oyla that Klal Yisrael offered up in the midbar before the Mishkan was set up, ein tu'una hefshit v'nituach, she'ein hefshit v'nituach ela ma'oil moyed ve'elach. Because there was only flaying and dismembering only after the Mishkan. Mar Savar, me'oil moyed ve'elach, once there was the Mishkan, then it applies both to a public altar and a private altar. Lo yishna b'ma gedayla, lo yishna b'ma ketana. Mar Savar, no. After the Mishkan, b'ma gedayla, then like the Mishkan, on a communal altar, like in Shilai, in Givain, Gilgal, there you need hefshin nituach. But b'ma ketana like. Says the Gemara, there's actually a raya to Rabbi Yochanan that you need hefshin nituach even on a private bama. Before I run out of space over here, let me welcome everybody in as I welcome in Saba and Irving Fishbaum, Yaakov Warman, Yossi, Mel Zachter, Yisrael Fisher, Mark Frankel, Shalom Fogel, Dr. Guy, Yitz Fuchs, Shimon Klein, A.B. Spry, Michal, Shelley Zeitlin, Dr. Black, Rachim Yamansky, Rulen Pollack, who we missed last night, Yitzi Muller, Rabbi Kranz, Nachman Chapler, Naftali Jablin. Barry Cement is here. Stephen Holtzman, Moshe Lehman, Avram Rezepkowitz, Eva Arbach, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Ilya Shukman, and here, Baruch Hashem, in the shul, we have a very beautiful crowd We have Berish Gesman, Gedalia Engel, Chaim Kramer, Michal Avram, Baruch Ian. We're going to wish Baruch Ian, I think, a Seitzchem L'Shalom soon. Are you going to be listening to Menachos in the Carolinas, or you don't know? Is it possible? It is possible. And Reb Shlomo and Reb Iran. We have Danny and Ruvain Shannon and Reb Elia Yafi. It's nice to have 11 people here in the shul. It's really, really nice. If anybody wants to slash Baruch Ian's tires, I'll pay a premium for that if you want. Just don't tell him I said it, but
Rabbi, a question. Is anybody coming in tomorrow from Brooklyn?
is a question from Yisrael Fisher. If anybody comes in from Brooklyn, he might be interested to join the Siyum. So if anybody is coming in from Brooklyn, please let Yisrael Fisher know. Now, says the Gemara, Tanya Kavose Reb Yochanan. I should say, by the way, before I get close to the finish, that it is 20 to 9. So when we finish, we're almost finished the Amud. I'm going to leave a little piece for the Siyum. I am going to give a short 15-minute Hakdama on Menachos. So you might want to stay for that if you're interested in a preface to Menachos. Mark is looking at me with those eyes. Yes, we are learning Menachos, Mark. Anyway, Tanya Kavasi de Rabbi Yochanan, that on a Bama Ketana you have to do Hefshit V'nituach. Dvarim shebein Bama Gedola LeBama Ketana. Here's differences between a public altar and a private one. Keren, the din that you have to have the horn, the 4 horns, the kevesh, a ramp, the yesod, a base of an amma that protrudes out on the bottom, the ribua, and that it has to be square, that's b'bama gedayla, but the ein keren, the yesod, the kevesh, the ribua, you don't need the horns, you don't need the base, you don't need the ramp, you don't need it to be square by a bama ketana. What? There is machlokes if it's enough with a rock or you need a mizbech of elevation. That there was a machlokes. Kiyar v'kanai b'bama gedayla. You need to have the kiyar and its base by a bama gedayla because you need richutz yadayim v'raglayim by a bama gedayla. Ve'ein kiyar v'kanai b'bama ketana. There is no kiyar and its base by a private altar because you don't need richutz yadayim v'raglayim by a private gedayla. Chazav v'shoik b'bama gedayla. The ritual of waving the shank, the breast and the shank, is only by a bama gedayla. Ve'ein chazav v'shoik b'bama ketana. However, the following are the same. Dvarim sheshafza bama gedayla lebama ketana. The following you need to do on a private altar as well. Of course, shchita b'bama gedayla ketana, you have to shecht it. You just can't put it and burn it on the fire. You might think you could burn it. You don't have to shecht it. You're not eating it. So you might think you don't have to shecht it. No, shchita b'bama gedayla ketana. And have shit v'nituach, and flaying it and dismembering it b'gedayla ketana. Dam, that if you're bringing a shlomim, dam matir, the blood, only the zrika permits the meat to be eaten. Umefagel, and one of the 4 avodas hadam, shchita, kabbalah, halacha, and zrika, render it pigel, if you have in mind to eat it chutzlus manai or to smoke it up chutzlus manai, b'gedayla ketana. That applies both to the communal and a private altar. Mumin, the disqualification of a blemished animal, uzman, and the expiration date. of 1 day and 1 night, or 2 days and 1 night, b'gdayla u'ktana. And aval noiser, but the din that this chorus, if it's left past its time, v'azman, or eating something that you had a machshava of pigel, v'atame, or eating something of kachim, b'tumas haguf, shavin bazeh bazeh, is equal both by a bama ketana and by a bama gedayla. Now the Tana Rabbanan is the last piece of the Gemara, so that will leave for tomorrow. We're just going to change the channel now and have a hakdama for Masechtas Menachos.